Welcome to the Market Muscles Podcast. Marketing insights and interviews with successful membership-based businesses in the health, wellness, and child activity center space. Learn their exact strategies on how they market and grow their companies. With your host, Stephen Reinstein.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Market Muscles Podcast. Today we have a really special guest, one of my best friends, founder of Gracie PAC MMA in Tampa, Florida, CEO of Grow Pro Agency, currently helping over 100 martial arts schools with their Facebook ads and online marketing, Maya consultant, commercial real estate investor, new mom. What else can I say? What else can she do? Anything. Cris Rodriguez, welcome to the show.
What an intro. Thanks, dude. That was great.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. So how is your day going so far?
Well, it's the first of the year that we're recording this on, right? New Year's Day. And I got a text message from the contractor that is doing the build out at the office that we just bought. And he said the air conditioning unit went out. And it was like, oh, I hope this isn't what 2021 is going to be like. But you know what? Fortunately, got on the call with our AC guy, and he's meeting me after this to go get it fixed. So there's always an answer. Always an answer. Otherwise, Perfect. It's been a good day, though.
Great. Awesome. So this show, we really want to focus on, helping the listeners, which are mostly school owners and, child activity center owners, and just kind of giving them some insight into, what works best when it comes to their marketing. So I think to kind of kick us off, why don't you give us an intro, specifically about kind of Gracie PAC and Grow Pro Agency and, kind of just like how long you've been in business, number of employees, services you offer, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. So, our listeners are our people. I've been a martial artist since March 15th, 1993. That was the first day that I ever stepped foot. And I can't even say on the mat because it was carpet, it was like old school Taekwondo. And it was literally the day that forever changed the course of my life. My mom trained judo when she was a kid in the Bronx and always talked about how much she loved it. And she used to take this aerobics class at the YMCA, and in the room right next door, they had karate classes going on. So I would always want to watch the karate classes and was always super intrigued by it. And when we moved down to Tampa, I'm originally from New Jersey. She picked me up from school one day and said, "Hey, you want to try martial arts?" And she brought me to a Junri Institute of Taekwondo. One of the biggest licensee Taekwondo programs back in the 90s. And because I got my start in Taekwondo, I really got to see what a well-oiled machine looks like. Gracie PAC is actually a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA academy. We opened in 2012 when I got my BJJ black belt. And we currently have 3 full-timers, 3 part-timers. And, traditionally, most BJJ and MMA academies usually have a strong focus on their adult program. And we're the complete opposite. Our main focus is on the kids and on families. People ask me a lot, like, what does PAC stand for? And when I first opened the business, it was supposed to be parents and children, and that's it. And those were the only clients I was going to take on, only kids and only their parents. And then I had all of these non-parents wanting to sign up. And I was like, maybe this isn't the best business model. So we changed it from parents and children to parents, adults, children, so that I wouldn't miss, this huge market. And, I absolutely love being a martial artist and a martial arts school owner. But I recognized in order for me to provide more opportunities for my team and to make the table a little longer, that I needed to look at different revenue streams. Me personally, I have never wanted to have multiple locations. I'm good with, one and done in regards to the school. So I needed to look at other avenues. And I've been studying digital marketing for over a decade, fell in love with it due to one of my really good friends, Matt Arroyo. He's a former UFC fighter. He basically got me started on building my first email list. And that's really where Grow Pro Agency was born. I also consult a ton of school owners, which is super, super fulfilling. I'm not on the mat teaching classes nearly as much. I teach 2 classes a week, and I was missing that fulfillment of that impact of being able to help change lives, not just, once a week when I'm on the mat, but every single day. And the number one question school owners have is, how do I get more students, right? I mean, that's the number one question. And that's really how Grow Pro Agency was born. There are a ton of marketing agencies out there, but I don't believe there are a ton of great marketing agencies that solely focus on our industry and that are ran by people who truly care and truly understand what it's like to be a school owner. So there's a little history on Gracie PAC and Grow Pro Agency. My 2 babies per se.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, I guess it was 2 years ago now when we were hanging out in Cozumel at Cos Talks, and it was like in between sessions, you kind of showed me the GoPro logo, and you're like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" I was like, "Cool, that sounds cool. What is that?" I'm gonna start an agency, and now here you are helping over 100 schools, which is it's pretty amazing. But yeah, I mean, I think just your kind of background, because like obviously we're going to talk about what works at your school, which is awesome, but based on like the location that people are in, certain things work better than other things. So I think your kind of background with consulting schools from all over the United States is really helpful here, because you get to see what works in a rural area, what works in a city area, suburban area. So we can definitely hop into some of that. But I guess just kind of looking at Gracie PAC first. First of all, I learned something new today. I didn't know that PAC stand for parents and children. I thought that was always like a culture thing, like you're part of the PAC or something like that. Which, I mean,
that was part of it. Yeah,
okay.
That was one of the reasons why I wanted PAC. Like, we're like a wolf pack together.
Yeah.
But yeah, parents, adults, children now.
Makes sense. Cool. Well, I think obviously you said as a jiu-jitsu school, you've kind of positioned yourself really uniquely in your community, and something that you don't see pretty often from the jiu-jitsu community, but you do see it kind of like in the greater martial arts community. But in terms of like when you started your business and how you kind of grew your reputation with your community, was there anything specific that you did? Because I mean, I think to the outsider, Brazilian jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and Muay Thai, it's really kind of tough to imagine yourself doing as a beginner, because it looks rough. I mean, it looks really hard. So how did you kind of break through that hurdle?
Yeah, great question. So a few things, and I want to be, transparent. I have my degree in elementary education. I graduated from the University of South Florida. I actually, when I graduated high school, I had a full scholarship to any Florida state school, and pretty much all of my friends went to UF, University of Florida. And I decided to stay here in Tampa because at the time I was the head instructor of my Taekwondo school. And I knew that I wasn't going to be teaching inside of a, 3rd or 4th grade classroom. I wanted to gain the knowledge in order to be able to teach martial arts better to children. So my background in education lends itself to working with kids. Here's the other thing. I'm 5'2" and I'm a female. And there's not too many solely female owned martial arts schools, nevertheless, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools. And I think it's important as an entrepreneur and a school owner to know what your strengths are and know what your weaknesses are. And if a 250-pound guy that maybe had some background in wrestling, who can, bench press 3 times my weight, comes in and challenges me, regardless of how much time I have on the mat, that could potentially turn into a not fun situation. So I decided to focus on the area where my strengths were. And that was ultimately working with children, because I've been teaching martial arts, really since I was about 10 years old. My Taekwondo school, they had an assistant instructor program. You had to assist in order to get your next belts. And then what I did was I hired out the positions that I wasn't good at. So I found a stud grappler. His name's Dan Martinez. He's actually a the EBI world champion. And if you know anything about no-gi jiu-jitsu, that's a pretty big deal. And, I just focused on what my strengths were and the things that I really enjoyed to do. And that's really why we had a focus on the kids program. And from a business perspective as well, you have more opportunities in regards to your 5 profit centers, which are the 5 ways a martial arts school can make revenue. And you just have more of those opportunities with kids programs. So, not only did it lend itself to my strengths, but I felt like it was just a smarter business model in general.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. We got pulled into that conversation in the 7-figure agency group, that one person that was, interested in learning more about branding their school. And I know that one of the things that you had mentioned was, hey, you need to have a name and, kind of like a culture that really resonates with children and parents, because that's going to be the driving force, behind most of their revenue. So, cool. I guess, just starting out though, like, what was your main marketing strategy? And I guess this was before you really knew the internet marketing world and really mastered it. So how did you kind of get your name out?
Yeah, it was, in my opinion, the best type of lead is a word of mouth and a referral lead. There's just nothing stronger than that. If you gave me the option of here's 100 Facebook leads or here's 100 referral leads, I'm going to take the referral leads every day of the week and twice on Sunday. They're just so much more powerful. So from the beginning, we had a referral rewards program, and every quarter I did referral contests. Whether it was win an Xbox, a PlayStation, an iPad, a TV, or cold hard cash, we really developed a culture of referrals. And I think that's, I think that's huge. Very often when I'm doing marketing audits, I'll look at people's Facebook recommendations or their Google reviews, and the school owner will go in and, like, for the Facebook recommendation, they'll just like it, or say thanks, or have some automated copy and paste response that you would see possibly a marketing agency that was handling the company's reviews. And then sometimes on Google, you don't even see a response. It's so important to make it a part of your culture. And for me, the easiest thing to do is just ask. I've never had a parent say no if I have asked for any form of referral or a review. And then we make it a point to let them know how grateful and appreciative we are. And ideally, you want to try to automate that process as well, right? There are email automations. You could put it in your new student handbook that asks for those reviews. But again, I don't think there's anything more powerful than just me as the business owner coming to you as a family and saying, hey, how are you enjoying our school? And I think that's also a big mistake. Sometimes people just say, hey, will you leave me a Google review? Well, how about you just ask how they're enjoying it? And lots of times you're going to get a story from those families. Like, oh my gosh, when Johnny first started, it would take us 20 minutes just to get out of the house. And I'd have to repeat myself 17 times. And now all I have to do is ask once and he's ready to go. And those stories are what other families are going to resonate with. And now you have a great opportunity to ask them to share that with others, online or by, a referral, maybe via a VIP card. So initially when we first started, it was word of mouth. And I feel like, the majority of schools usually kind of get their start that way, but I don't want to say it's not super scalable, but it can eventually hit a tipping point where you just need more lines out in the ocean, right? That's one line out in the ocean, but let me get a few more.
Yeah, no, I think, that key of asking the person about their experience first, it's really helpful because it's like they're writing their review, but without having to think about it, you know what I mean? So when they go back to actually write it, it's okay, I already know what I'm going to say. And something that I see pretty often, I would say from all businesses, but specifically martial arts schools, is you'll check out the reviews and you'll see, okay, they got 20 reviews in June. And then you look, and in the next couple of months, they get like maybe 1 or 2. So building that system into, your business, so that way it's a continuously flowing thing, I think is pretty key as well, because it's really obvious when the effort's put in to get those reviews, if it's like a bunch all at once and then nothing and then a little bit more. And, anything that we can do to stand out, from our competitors. I know that seems like a silly thing, but people read into that stuff. They see, 1, that you have reviews, 2, what the reviews say, and then 3, like when they're posted, how often they're posted. It's like going to someone's social media page or a business social media page and then seeing that they haven't posted in like a year or 2. Doesn't really, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It doesn't put a lot of confidence in you to move forward with that business. So, cool.
Let me just add to this, really quick, because I just think it's so important. Google actually this year started offering these badges in certain service industries. You'll see it in the roofing industry. You see it in the cleaning and the maid services industry. You see it in the HVAC industry, where when somebody Googles, let's say, roof service in Tampa, the company that has the highest reviews actually gets a badge underneath their business's name that says top rated roofing company in this city. Now, they have not released this to martial arts yet. They're still testing it out. But man, if there's any motivation or inspiration for you to start, making this a high priority, that should be it. Because imagine somebody Googles martial arts in your city, and now you have the badge that says top rated martial arts school. I think we have like 180 some odd 5-star reviews, which I want for my clients to aim for that triple digits. I feel like once you kind of hit that triple digits, you're just like 5 laps ahead of everybody else. And listen, 10 years ago, Google reviews, people didn't trust them the same way that they trust them now. And it's just because our buying habits have changed, right? We go on Amazon, we scroll all the way to the bottom, and we're looking for the reviews. So because our buying habits are changed, we trust those. So it's definitely a super important aspect of what I would call your digital footprint.
Yeah, I feel like once that badge hits our industry, you're going to see everyone trying to like gun for it, right? So if you do the work now, then, you kind of secure your position. So yeah, I mean, totally makes sense to put that investment in, and I'm sure it'll hit our industry soon. Cool. So fast forward, however many years, current time at Gracie PAC. I know you've talked a little bit about having those different lines in the ocean. What does marketing look like now for Gracie PAC?
Yeah. So, in my opinion, there are 7 ways to market your academy. And they kind of start easy, and they get a little bit more difficult. And usually with anything in life, the harder it is, the greater the payoff is. So our strategy is to utilize these different 7 levels of marketing with every campaign that we put out, whether that's an offer for a free trial or a paid trial, or whether that's an event, a parent night out event or a seminar or a mass intro. And I truly believe that school owners should use this as a playbook. And this is actually my topic. We have the Maya Elite Orlando conference coming in February. And this is what I'm going to be speaking on, and actually providing a guide. Like, whatever your offer is, whatever your event is, just follow these 7 steps. Because so often I hear from school owners, yeah, Cris, I tried to do a mass intro and, 2 people showed up. And I said, well, what did you do? Oh, well, I boosted my Facebook event. I say, well, what else did you do? Well, that was it. Right? We want to be able to have all of these different levels. So this is what we follow for basically every single campaign. One of the levels of marketing, sometimes we will use and sometimes we don't. It just kind of depends. But all of the other ones we use every single time. And I think this will be really valuable to the listeners. So first is just organic social media content, right? Like, content marketing is so important. That's what we're doing right here on this podcast. This is content marketing. And that's what you need to be providing to your followers so you can gain more awareness and move them to consideration before you ask for the purchase, right? So often we're like, buy. You got to give first. right? Gary V, he always says jab, 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 then you right hook. And that's really what content marketing is providing. And, the different forms of content marketing, whether that's posting, whether that's Facebook Lives, whether that's creating events. So that's kind of the first level. So, if we're doing a mass intro, we're going to make sure that we have content out there. Let's say it's a bully awareness mass intro. We're going to put some posts on some bully statistics. We're going to do a Facebook Live on those bully statistics. We're going to create that event on Facebook. And then the second level is our website. And we are proud Market Muscles users, best website company in the game. And we're going to make sure that our website has a blog on bully awareness that we can drive traffic to. And we're going to need a sign up link. So we're going to create a checkout page on that website. So that's the second level, right? The third level is going to be paid ads. And we predominantly focus on Facebook and Instagram, Google and YouTube. And I truly believe that YouTube is just kind of like this dark horse right now, with Facebook ad costs rising with the changes in the Apple iOS system and this ability to opt out. That's kind of really shooken up the digital marketing industry. And I don't think it's as scary as people believe, and nothing's set in stone yet. But basically, this update would make your pixel not as valuable, right? So that pixel is just this piece of code that we put on our website, that when people go to our website, we can now track them and almost like stalk them everywhere they go on the internet. But paid ads need to be a part of your campaign strategy. If you put a post on your Facebook business page, you're lucky if 10% of your followers even see it. So let's say you have, 1,000 followers, you're going to be lucky if just 100 even see it. That doesn't even mean that they're going to definitely engage with it or click on it. So Facebook really has become a pay-to-play platform. And if you want your stuff to get seen, you got to put some money behind it, because there's only so much space on that news feed, right? It's an auction. And if you want to populate on there, you got to put some money behind it, right? So that's the third level of marketing. Fourth level of marketing is email and SMS. Email is not dead. For whatever reason, people think like email doesn't work. One-off emails don't work, right? I mean, just think about your own habits when you go into your inbox. How many times are you hitting delete, 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 right? So, putting together 3 to 5 to 7 part email campaigns as well as text message campaigns, right? I don't know about you, but on my voicemail, it says, please text me. Like, it literally says that. So if you call me and I don't pick up, it's going to tell you to text me. Most people prefer to communicate via text. So you have to have that ability. The next level of marketing is going to be print marketing and direct mail. And that's kind of the one level that we don't always do, right? A direct mail campaign can be, $600,000, $800,000 each go. But, utilizing the United States Postal Service, you can get some really, really great targeting. You can choose the routes that are around your martial arts school and blast that out. And that was actually part of our strategy coming out of COVID, is we did a direct mail piece, because everybody's being bombarded with digital content. Everybody was at home on lockdown, binge watching every Netflix show, that we figured, in order to get their attention right now, because everybody's on Zoom, the kids are on Zoom, the parents are on Zoom with work, maybe we needed to get, a tangible item in their hands. The next level of marketing is the phone. And this is the one where I think a lot of school owners drop the ball on. They don't want to pick up the phone and call. And yes, a lot of people prefer SMS, but you still have to pick up the phone and call. And then finally, we have face-to-face marketing. And that was pretty much completely stripped away from us in COVID, unfortunately. And really kind of the only thing that was left around was digital marketing. But there's nothing more powerful than getting face-to-face. So that is our strategy at our school. That's our strategy that we recommend to other school owners. So if I ask you, well, what did you do to market your mass intro? And you tell me, oh, I just boosted my event. And, that's why only 2 people showed up. Well, it's just because you don't have enough lines out in the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, thank you for breaking all that down. I think each individual topic could be its own podcast
For
or
sure, right?
masterclass, you know. But you mentioned an event in February. Is that open to any school owners, or do they have to be Maya members specifically? Or
Yeah, great question. So it is open to all school owners. It's February 19th and 20th. It is a business and marketing conference put on by Team Maya. And we actually have an instructor training certification that Roland Osborne is going to be doing on Saturday. So it's both, it's off the mat training and on the mat training. And it's in Orlando, one of the coolest travel spots. I'm sure everybody is itching to travel. Yeah, we're really excited. We do this every February for Maya. And traditionally, we've never marketed it to outside of, Maya clients. But I'm glad you asked, because yes, everybody is welcome. And, one of the questions I get is like, well, is it going to be a pitch fest? And it's like, well, guys, the event is made for our elite clients. So it can't be a pitch fest because they're already our clients. You're getting to see inside of, all of the Maya systems and how we help literally hundreds of schools with our programs.
yeah, I mean, just hearing you break down those levels of marketing, and then you were saying that you're teaching a class on this where you can give everyone kind of like step by step, this is how you do each one of them. Because as you're going through it, I mean, it sounds like a lot of work. It's because it is a lot of work, but like any of our other muscles, everyone has a marketing muscle. I didn't mean to start the pun there, but just hearing those things, I mean, I would assume for you guys at this point, because you've been doing it for so long, I mean, it's like, it's just part of your business. It's just something that you guys do. For someone that doesn't have all of those, levels of marketing kind of firing for their business, it sounds really, overwhelming, I would say. So yeah, getting to that session in February sounds like, it'd be totally worth the money just for that one session alone, because, you can learn the step by step. So that sounds great. Cool. Well, I have this question here. I'm going to ask it. I feel like I know the answer, and I want other people to hear too. The question is, what is the most profitable marketing channel for you? I assume it's hard to pinpoint, and it's going to be a mixture of a lot of things, but I'd love to hear kind of from you what you think the most profitable marketing channel is.
Yeah, 100%. And I saw that, and when you sent me the show notes, and I put my answer with a little winky smile. It depends on the time of the year. Right. Yeah. So I just told you that, we got those 7 levels, and the most powerful one is the face-to-face. Now, why is the face-to-face maybe the one level of marketing where a school owner is going to like roll their eyes? It's because it requires the most sweat equity, right? Yep. Like, I don't know if you asked a school owner, how much do you enjoy going to set up a booth and standing in your, martial arts uniform at a festival, in the sun for 8 hours? How many people would say, oh my gosh, that's my favorite thing to do? But in our industry, there are ebbs and flows. There are times of the year where your marketing really needs to go pedal to the metal. All right. And this is something I learned from my mentor, Mr. Mike Metzger. And those 3 times in the year are going into summer, coming out of summer, and going into the new year. And during those 3 times, the reason why we can potentially see a large drop off in our student base and potentially a large increase in our student base, which if you have both of those, just kind of, zero gain, but it's because life changes. Right. I know for a lot of schools, they've been closed and rightfully so. Right. I mean, we're a year-round sport, so I'm not judging at all. But, maybe you've been closed for the last 2.5 weeks. Right. And what that means is your student base isn't in the habit of coming and showing up. And because of that, life changes, right? Maybe they went on vacation. So the new year is a time that we see that going into summer just because of summer traveling, and then coming out of summer because of, going into the school year. So my answer is it really depends on the time of the year. If we're going into the back to school season, the most profitable marketing channel for me is going to be going to meet the teachers in open houses. Okay. If we are right now in this situation that we're in right now, like, during lockdown and the new year, and there might not be a ton of events, all of the schools are closed. Right now, the most profitable for me is going to be paid online ads. So, I think sometimes people try to do one level of marketing and expect to get, 10, 15, 20 students. I don't think you should do that. I think you should do multiple and just try to get a few from each one of those channels. And I also think it's, important to say that I can drive the most leads with online marketing. All I've got to do is turn that budget up, right? But I can gain the highest quality leads with face-to-face marketing. And I think that's an important distinction to mention.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's kind of the answer I was expecting from you. I mean, the other thing to consider too, just looking at like where people are physically located, in beautiful Florida, you've got great weather year round. But if you're, up in the northern part of the United States, then you have part of the season where you can't, have the opportunity to stand outside and, be there face to face with people and get those sorts of things as well. So I think the kind of key message through everything that we've kind of talked about so far is just having a multifaceted game when it comes to your marketing and to really focus on that. So cool. I mean, I guess, bringing it back to, these past couple of years of marketing, based on, different marketing efforts that you've tried, is there anything that you've tried and just said, it's probably not worth it, and you've stopped investing, time or money into it, or is everything a home run?
I would say one thing that we put a lot of emphasis on was our Chamber of Commerce. This was a few years ago. I co-own Gracie PAC. It's a family business. Both of our sons work there as well. And my wife Stephanie, who she just had a baby Cruz. So she has been on, let's say, maternity leave this year, but has been an integral part of the success of the academy. And she was really big into the Chamber of Commerce and actually became the president of the North Tampa Chamber of Commerce. And it's not something that we have put the same amount of time and energy in. And it's not because I don't think it's worth it. It's just the time aspect that is required of it, right? Going to those networking meetings, going to the chamber meetings. I know that there's, quite a few clients, Kevin Nevels, he's a Market Muscles client, a Grow Pro client. He sits on the board of his Chamber of Commerce. And I know there's a lot of people that, have had a lot of success with it. I think the difficult part is people ask, well, what's the ROI? It's like you can't put a number on the relationships that you are gaining. So I don't know if that really answers the question. It's not, we're not doing it because it didn't work. We're just not doing it because it was very time consuming.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, obviously you need to, with all these different levels of marketing, you have to figure out which are the ones that I'm going to put more time towards based on, what type of return we're getting, or like what type of effect it's having on our business. So just hearing that, obviously it's probably important for the marketing or for the networking aspect, but just looking at a full picture and seeing all the other things going on, it's just, picking like what is the priority for us essentially. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cool. So I guess with your existing customer base, because we've talked a lot about attracting new customers into your business, with your existing customer base, how do you, how do you maximize, their experience with you and you kind of getting the most value out of them as well?
I love this question. I think there is this misconception about marketing only being for prospects, right? It's like, got a new student. Now let me go get a new one. Let me go get a new one. Let me go get a new one. And every single time your students step foot in your academy, you have to do a great job because you've got to convince them to come back. And that is marketing. And one of my favorite quotes is, people flock to excitement, but they stay where they are loved. And in order for our student base to feel that, one, I believe it starts with great staff training. I'm currently an off-site owner. I go in on Fridays. I teach 2 classes. So I have a lot of trust in my team that they are going to treat our students the same way that I would. And that starts with staff training. But what we have implemented is what I call the customer journey. And in that customer journey, which is just, the journey that our customers take in our business, right? Like, there's 6 steps to it: awareness, consideration, purchase, onboarding, retention, and advocacy. And every business has a customer journey or a cycle, whatever you want to call it. And I believe that the schools that have a very low attrition rate, which your attrition rate, you should aim to be under 5% a month, meaning that you're not losing more than 5% of what your student base is. And that's kind of average. Like a good school is at 4%, a great school is at 3%. And this is so important because let's say you do your attrition formula for 2020, and 2020 is probably a little skewed because all of us lost students. Right. But let's say your attrition was at 5.5%. If you can improve it just by 1%, just 1% down to 4.5%, that's literally bringing in tens of thousands of dollars worth of revenue if you can improve it by 1%. And so much energy and time and focus is put on gaining new students in our industry, which is important. You have to do it, but you also need to retain the ones that you currently have. And I believe the best way to do that is to implement what I call moments of impact. And at every single one of these stages, you have the opportunity to have moments of impact. So I truly believe that the best way for you to market to your students is to walk a couple of, walk a mile or 2 in their shoes. Think about what they are going through, because we always look at it from our perspective as a school owner. I mean, the last time I was a white belt, it was like back in when I was just started jujitsu and I was 16 years old. I think we forget how scary it can be as a first timer. I think we forget how exciting it could be when we get our first class, or we break our first board, or we're earning our first rank, or getting our black belt. So looking at all of these opportunities where we can make an impact, and the name Moments of Impact came to me because when I look back on all of my greatest memories of my childhood, I'd say 90% of them have something to do with my martial arts school. And my goal was, I wanted my students, when they're in their 30s and 40s, to have those same moments of impact when they're looking back on their top memories that they came from Gracie PAC. So I think the best thing you can do is map out your customer journey. What does that look like from the first second somebody finds out about your academy until they get to their black belt and they ultimately become, a brand ambassador or an advocate? And just know that people flock to excitement. You can think you have the coolest new class or, course or event, but ultimately they're going to stay where they're loved.
Yeah, I think going into COVID, I was just like looking through my Facebook timeline, and I had made a post back in February, March, that basically said that the culture of everybody's businesses was going to be tested through COVID. And I think that is pretty true, because the ones that didn't have a strong culture, the ones that didn't map out that customer journey and have those moments of impact, are the ones that suffered the most through COVID by losing students. Because, when transitioning to the virtual world, that takes a level of commitment from your students as well, because it's different. It's way easier when you're stuck at home to just like hop on the couch and watch Netflix and, binge stuff, but to get up and actually show up for class the same way, that's hard. But if they really love, what they're doing, and they really love your school and they love being part of that community, then yeah, I mean, that's obviously something that they're going to want to do. But, it's always kind of said that it's way easier to get money from people that already trust you than to try and, sign someone new up or create a new customer essentially. So I think that concept of like closing the back door is something that's overlooked a little bit too much in our industry, unfortunately. And a lot of the focus is put on, the new students, like you were saying. So I think really taking a step back, obviously, those levels of marketing are extremely important. I think they apply to existing students as well. But I think kind of closing that back door is step one to really scaling and really growing the school. So, I'm just kind of thinking of, where I kind of trained growing up, and, I have such fond memories of, growing up in the dojo, even like things that probably aren't done anymore, but just like, sparring with my instructor and like, just everything. We used to do these lock-ins on Halloween. I don't think anyone does 24-hour kind of sleepover lock-ins anymore, but I'm sure you remember those. But there's just so many memories that I have that are just so like near and dear to my heart that it's why I'm a lifelong martial artist as well. It's something that's so important to me. So
our Taekwondo school called it the Karate Kid Campout, and it was from 8 p.m. till 8 a.m. And they did it a few times a year. And, now I look at that as just this crazy liability. We're not doing that. But one of my moments of impact, and this isn't necessarily a good thing, but it's, part of my martial arts journey was, it was like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they didn't make you go to sleep. Like you didn't have to go to sleep, but you had to be seated, right? But you could still stay up and talk with your friends. And, I was, probably like 11 or 12, something like that. And somebody, one of the other, campers said, "Do you guys want to play Truth or Dare?" And it was my first experience with Truth or Dare at the Karate Kid Campout sleepover. And, again, like you said, that these memories, when you look back, that's what I want for my students, right? But just not at a sleepover. We're not doing sleepovers.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the key is like having them planned, because like I look back to like all the people that I trained with growing up, and some of them have moved on and they're no longer part of the martial arts. Some of them still are. But I think the more that you're in control and have these planned moments of impact, the more likely that you're going to have more people that have those memories that continue on with their training for a longer period of time. So really kind of controlling what that looks like, I think, is the key there. Or else it's, up to some randomness that they experience those.
Yeah, one of my favorite Jim Rohn quotes is plan your work your plan. And we're here in the beginning of the new year, right? Which is typically a time where most people are going to be doing goal setting. We do an annual Gracie PAC meeting. I do this for all of my companies. And we go through something called a business roadmap, which is something that I've put together over the years. And we look back on the year that, just ended. I think reflection is not harped on enough. In order for us to really, move forward and look forward, we kind of need to see where we've come from. And we also break down all of our KPIs and statistics over the years so that we can make educated estimates on what our goals are going to be for the new year. And the biggest piece of this, besides the metrics, is planning out the entire next year. So that's what we do. It takes usually anywhere from 5 to 6 hours. We get outside of the academy. We typically, we're here in Florida, so we try to go somewhere near the water, just something about hearing the ocean waves coming in that can be really inspiring. And we do this with our leadership team. It's not just us, the owners, because we want them to take ownership in it and also to be able to hold them accountable for the ideas that they have. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're planning their calendar of events, right? Like, okay, it's easy to say, all right, we're going to have a parent night out on this Friday. We're going to have a seminar the next weekend. We're going to have this in-house tournament. What they forget to do is to put the marketing strategies, those 7 levels of marketing that they need to do on the calendar as well. So if we have an in-house tournament, on a Saturday, Well, what do the 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks prior to that in-house tournament look on the marketing side? Because what typically happens is a week from the in-house tournament, school owners go, oh crap, we got the in-house tournament. We didn't tell anybody. We only sent one email out, or we only made announcements during the mat chat. So I think one of the biggest just game changers for school owners is not just having this event planning calendar, but putting the marketing on the calendar as well. When do the posts happen? When do the emails go out? When do the text messages go out? When do we turn the ads on? When are we making phone calls, right? You've got to put those marketing strategies on your calendar as well, because otherwise the event is going to sneak up behind you, and now maybe you only hit one of those levels. And that's what we do as well during our annual planning is we transfer everything to a Google Calendar. It's color coordinated. And because I'm an offsite owner, the only way I know if my team is doing what they need to do is they've got to change the color to gray. So whatever the color is on the calendar, once they do it, they gray it out. And now during our team meetings, I can look at the calendar and say, oh, wow, okay, they did everything that they needed to do in regards to the marketing for preparing for our events. That's the only way these events and these offers that we're putting out are going to be successful. So don't just, here we are in the new year, don't just create an event planning calendar. You got to put the marketing on there as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So just quick question, when you're setting up those, those kind of like to-dos for the marketing leading up to the event, you're not actually physically writing out like what that email is going to say, like day one of January, right? That's just kind of a note that, hey, we need an email that goes out this day, and then leading up to it, you guys prepare those documents. Is that right?
Exactly. And
okay.
One of the main reasons why I decided to do this was because when I was an on-site owner, my program director would show up and she'd say, okay, what are the main focuses for today? And I'd say, all right, well, this needs to be done. Well, I'm not there anymore, right? And that's not really a scalable, strategy. But the other thing is towards the end of the month, there's a lot that's got to get done in regards to preparing for the next month. Right. And what was happening, it was like on the 30th or the 31st, we're just kind of cramming everything in to get everything prepared for the next month, that the Google Calendar now allows us to kind of space it out over, the course of a week or a week and a half, so that we're not scrambling the last day of the month and getting super overwhelmed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cool. All right. So we've got two final questions for you before we wrap this up. So first question is, if you had just one tip that you want to give to other martial arts school owners, what is that one tip?
Yeah, great question. Because there's a lot of tips, but just one. And this is really relevant to what I'm going, or what I have been going through in the last few weeks, is that when you're first starting out in any business, time is your greatest asset in the beginning. And that's the whole hashtag hustler, hashtag grinding, right? Hashtag sacrifice, no work-life balance. Time is your greatest asset. But once you get out of that startup phase, your team is your greatest asset. And a lot of people in our industry know that a few weeks ago I had a very, very scary medical emergency where I had to be rushed to the ER. I was literally a few hours away of becoming septic and dying because of an infection that I had emergency surgery. And when I got out of the surgery and I was recovering in the hotel room, not once did I have to worry about who was going to be teaching classes, or who was going to be doing sales calls, or who was going to be doing follow-up calls, or who's going to run this meeting. The thought did not even cross my mind, not only for Gracie PAC, but also for GrowPro. And it's because I have put the proper people in the right seats on my bus to take care of that. And it was one of the greatest feelings to be kind of at that low moment of your life, right? And you and I, we talked, all the time while I was in the hospital, because you're an awesome friend and, was constantly checking up on me. And it was a really low point for me, right? Like I'm a mover. I like life is movement. I've got to be moving. And to not be allowed to or not be able to was really, really difficult for me. But I just, imagine the level of stress that it would have brought if I'm having to figure out who's going to be taking care of the companies. And I truly believe that many school owners don't get out of that kind of owning a job phase. And I think it's because they truly love what they're doing, which is great. But if you have to be at your business every single day, you do not own a business, you own a job. And if you're okay with it, that's cool. But what happens if there's an emergency and you're stuck in the hospital and you're out of town? I wasn't even in Tampa. I was out of town when this happened. So I truly believe in the beginning, time is our greatest asset. But once you're out of that startup phase, you've got to start taking care of your team so they can take care of your clients. And I don't think enough emphasis is put on building a team and providing more opportunities for them and really kind of making your table longer.
Yeah, I think having the choice of doing what you want to do is the key piece there, rather than you being forced to do it. Because I think every martial arts school owner didn't open up their school because they thought this was going to be an awesome money-making opportunity, right? Everyone loves martial arts. So when it comes to, thinking about potentially not teaching every single class or whatever that might be, that might be a scary thing. But like you said, in a situation that, whether it's an emergency or you want to go on vacation or whatever it might be, for you to have that choice to be able to step away and have things covered is a really, beautiful thing. And, I was going through something that I've done over the past couple of days. I've gone through like my Dropbox, my Google Drive, just kind of organizing, deleting old files I don't need. And a couple files popped out from 2017, which is when we started Market Muscles. And one of them was a list of my responsibilities, because something that I learned from Professor Brandon Belizzo was, when you start to create systems for your business, the best things to start with are the things that you don't like to do, essentially. So to figure out the things that you don't like to do, you just make a list of everything you do, and then you take that list and you figure out, okay, what systems am I going to make? And I opened up this spreadsheet that had a list of everything that I was doing. I mean, it was literally everything at Market Muscles. It was support tickets. It was creating the new websites. It was all the research and development for our products. It was the actual development of it. It was everything that was on there.
Taking out the trash.
Right.
The windows.
Exactly. Yes. And just looking back at that, I'm really grateful to be in the spot where, those sorts of things are now handled by, my team members, but that was done by design. It just didn't happen, that way. And, to be in that position where if I just really want to hop on a sales call now, and that's just something I really want to do today, I have that flexibility to go do that. Same thing with the school owner. If they just really want to teach classes today, they're just feeling super inspired to have that choice to do it rather than being forced to do it, is the spot that I feel like everyone should be in. So, I appreciate you sharing that story. I know it's a personal one, and any kind of moment like that really allows you to kind of step back and really, appreciate what you've built. So it's good that you weren't put through the stress of that sort of situation. So
to me, I guess, ultimate success, what I'm, I guess you could say chasing after, is the ability to say that I do what I want, when I want, and with whom I want. Mm-hmm. And for some of my businesses, I can say that. And for other businesses, I've purchased another job, right? I'm in that startup phase where time is my greatest asset and I'm grinding and I've got to be the one to do it, knowing that, eventually we'll be in a different stage. But to me, that is the ultimate success, doing what you want, when you want, and with whom you want. Yeah,
absolutely. Cool. All right. So last question. If you had to pick one book to recommend to the listeners, which book would that be?
Oh, that's so hard.
And that one wasn't on the list that I sent to you either.
I know. I have a floor to ceiling bookshelf in my house. It's like 20 feet up, and I love books. They're all color coordinated. I might have a slight addiction to ordering books on Amazon. I ordered one this morning, a recommendation that you made, right? I'm going to say the book that started it all for me. And I do believe that there are books that you might read depending on where you're at in your life that just don't resonate. And then you read it at a different time period of your life and it truly resonates.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
This book, when I look at my progress and my success, it always comes back to The Compound Effect. And that's the name of the book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, the secret formula to success: small, smart choices done consistently over time yield drastic results. It's not super sexy. It's not necessarily fun, but when I look at the things in my life that have really paid off, it's due to the compound effect. And I read that book the year that I opened my school in 2012, and it was just the perfect book at the perfect time. And it's, if anybody asks me what's the number one book that, an entrepreneur should read, I'm always going to say The Compound Effect.
Perfect. I wrote that one down because I've been on a little bit of a reading kick, and I've heard you mention it a couple times now, so I got to get that one.
There you go.
Awesome. Cool. So I guess just to leave everybody, all the listeners, what is the best way if someone's interested in just writing you and getting your insight or contacting you to learn more about GrowPro or Maya? What is the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, my super professional sounding email address, which is midgettwister@gmail.com.
I have to ask. I've never asked. Wait, tell me about this name.
I mean, I have a tattoo. That's the midget twister symbol right there.
Wow.
So the midget twister is a jiu-jitsu technique that is like a spinal compression. And when I first saw it, I was a blue belt, and I learned it from Justin Chim Chim Garcia. He owns the Jungle Gym in the Bronx in New York. And he did it, and I fell in love with the move, and I tried to get it on everybody when I started grappling. And I'm short, and I'm really fast when I grapple. So because I was trying to go for the midget twister, my coach, Rob Kahn, just said, that's your nickname. You are the midget twister. And then it just kind of got dwindled down to midget and then just midge. And the reason why it stuck was because I taught the kids classes. So everybody would say, oh, you're twisting the midgets. You're twisting the kids when you're grappling with them and you're training with them. So it's funny. The name of my LLC is Midget Twister. And I didn't really think that very well through, thinking like, I'm going to be in meetings with accountants and lawyers and, and everybody's like, Midget Twister LLC. And I'm like standing behind it, super proud. But it's a jiu-jitsu technique, and, you don't get to pick your nickname. And I created that when I think I was 21 years old was when the nickname was given to me. And I refused to change my email, and it's on my business cards and meeting, super, super successful, wealthy people, and midgettwister@gmail.com. It's the best way to get a hold of me.
Perfect. All righty. Well, thank you so much for joining us, sharing all that knowledge. I'm sure we'll have you back in the future because there's just so much more to talk about. So again, appreciate the time.
If you enjoyed this episode and would like more information, insights, and strategies on how you can grow your company, visit us at marketmuscles.com.